very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend in a world we must defend. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Our hearts so true, our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all. Yeah. Every challenge along the way, with courage I will face. I will battle every day to claim my rightful place. Come with me, the time is right. There's no better team. Arm in arm, we'll win the fight. It's always been our dream. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend in a world we must defend. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Our hearts so true, our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all.
We are live, so hi everyone. I'm going to be Sammy for a second now. So welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast, the nerdy podcast hosted by Northern Nerds. I'm one of the hosts, Sam, or should I say Paul, and I am joined by co-host today, which is Goodwill. Yes.
Hi, anxiety. I choose you.
So yes, we are joined by a few nerds today, like the Pokemon master himself, which is Jake, and he's got all
Hell
of his
yeah.
Pokemon cards behind him. They're not actually a fake wall; that is actually his Pokemon cards spread out across
huge.
the world.
Do you have a giant one right here?
And he's stealing all of Goodwill's gimmicks at this moment. Yes, and
These are my gimmicks.
these are your gimmicks.
You'll
Goodwill
pry them
can't
out of my
steal.
cold dead hands.
Yes, I'm ignoring your horn there, Goodwill. Don't worry. And we are joined by
Hold
the
on.
hardest working man in the business, which is Graham, who was actually streaming earlier, and he will be streaming after us as well.
It's going to be a fun day of just like going, hello, lack of sleep. No, it's been really good. I was playing, I was determined to finish XCOM Enemy Unknown earlier. And then what I'm going to do is after this, I'm going to be playing Diablo 4, which I've shelled out for. Let's give that a go. But I love the fact that you've got me on for a Pokemon podcast. And I'm like, yeah, I know Generation 1. So we're going to be leaning a lot on Jake today.
To be fair, though, when I did put up the list, I was getting, who wants to do what? You went, oh, Pokemon, I'll do that. So
I
it
know.
wasn't on me.
It was suffixed by, I'll do that if no one better wants to do it.
I don't hear that.
And nobody came forward.
That's the Graham promise.
So, yeah, it's like, I'll do it if there's no one better for the job, which is my drag career.
To be fair, though, when it comes to a Graham, there is nobody better to do the job.
I'm one of a kind, the doctor said. If anyone's watching this who knows more about Pokemon, then basically we should probably do a second episode and be like, okay, so we have Jake and Joe who know what they're talking about, and then other people as well. But yeah,
We'll be fine.
thanks for having me on.
But yes, and we have a newbie, a virgin on the podcast today, shall we say, and put it in the most polite way. We have Joe, who has been in the chat quite a lot, and he has been part of like the online stream games quite a lot. He's normally the one beating us, which is always the bastard.
That's why I work with him in this
Rather
latest
against
video
him. Yeah.
series.
I'll That's why
yes.
you killed me with trees on Thursday night.
Ah, yes. Dreaming.
Just stand here, Joe, while I topple this tree on top of you.
I said Timber, which is actually the name of a Pokemon.
Is that the one with a massive hard on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
All of them.
Carries
It's
a-
not just all of them, really. Yeah.
Carries a big log on his shoulder. Yeah.
But to be fair, we have been nicknamed tonight in the chat the bearded episode because everyone has a beard. So it's probably the first one without
Good.
Sammy as well. So I'm not
She
sure
should have
Sammy-
worn a beard,
Yeah.
Monty Python style.
We will. We'll get to that. But as with
Team
the-
Amish.
Team demonetized already, yes. But yes, with tonight's episode being Joe's first, and Joe probably doesn't know about this, we always get the newbies to tell a bit about themselves and give us some nerd credentials. So take it
Oh,
away,
no.
Joe. Sell yourself to the nerds.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I play video games a lot. I like to play video games on Twitch, although I'm not very consistent. I just play whenever it is that I feel like playing.
Mhm.
I don't know if I've mentioned it enough on the Facebook group, the Discord group, on the podcast before, but I am in the process of leaving the country.
Mhm.
So I'm currently living
It's a
very
good idea. It's a good idea.
Very good idea. I endorse this.
So I'm currently very nomadic, and I'm. You might recognize the backdrop from a previous guest who's not here, and I'm house sitting for her and watching her dog. So this isn't my house. I don't live here. These aren't my.
This is Joe. He's just broken into
It's
someone's
not
house.
my beautiful house.
This is not my beautiful car. Hang on, are you actually leaving the country to go hunt Pokemon?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, right,
Hold
good.
on. Hold on, did your mum just be like, okay, well, time to
You are
fuck
the
off for a while.
hairiest
Go and
ten-
talk to that creepy professor.
You are the hairiest 10-year-old I have ever seen.
That's what Professor Oak said.
Yes.
Yes. Hang on, are you just coming back every day and collecting Pokemon?
Is your mum home alone? Yeah, go hunt all the Pokemon.
You should
Go.
you should visit every town in the region. You should leave now. Like leave right now. Here, take this Pokemon. Take this fire-breathing lizard for protection.
Pocket monsters, shall we say. But yes,
Pocket
so
monsters.
Joe, if you didn't know this, is Sonia's brother, and Sonia has messaged me a few times when we've been doing certain episodes saying, Joe would be really good at this. Joe would be really great at this. And I was like, and again, not to say I didn't want Joe on,
No,
because
no.
they were always so busy and so on, to the point where I was like, I'm going to have to say yes, because Sonia's going to stop actually being nice to me and wanting to come on the episodes, because we love Sonia being on as well. But
Yeah.
so Sonia said that Joe was a Pokemon expert.
Okay,
And
that's
so
set the bar really high.
yeah, so it's
a lot of
Highly
things.
recommended.
If you know
You
more
go.
than Gen 1, then you're still an expert.
Yeah. It depends on what, because I've watched a lot of Pokemon. I've played a lot of Pokemon. I've played a lot of the varied
Mhm.
things within the franchise.
Mhm.
But my interest did drop off as I kind of grew up a bit. And when I was in college, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm not gonna keep buying new games.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna keep buying. So I know a fair bit, but I actually still actively play. Like when I do play on Twitch, and I have been raided, I think, by you guys.
Oh yeah,
I was doing a challenge run.
Those filthy
Of the-
animals.
you did. You were playing at like 2 times speed though, I think, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I like my my brain isn't going to play a game that slow anymore. I can't do it.
So before we get into the whole games and like the lore, or that is the Pokemon, I'll do Sammy's very nice disclaimer, because it's not a podcast without the disclaimer.
Wait,
we
just
should
to give an element of class, can you do it with a French accent, please?
I would normally try, but with my throat feeling like it's been fucked by 1,000 pineapples, I don't think it's going to go that way. I'll try and do.
That's not a Pokemon.
I'll try and do a sexy accent.
It
I don't know
is
how
now.
French will be. So I go, good morning, hello. I'm gonna say this only once.
Oh, we're going racist. Okay.
That's it.
No, it's not
Racism,
racist.
that's my Pokemon.
It's from a popular TV show called Aloha. Can't be racist.
It's not.
I love that
It's not
show.
racist if you're just mentally ill. I think that's the way it works.
I'm gonna say this only
I think that
once.
was the joke in Hello Hello, where they're like, he's just a shithead. That's how he gets away with it, the policeman.
Bless him. Oh, good morning, good pissing. But yes, so hi everyone. So blah blah blah. Everything discussed in
Blah, blah,
tonight's
blah.
yeah. everything discussed in tonight's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. So yes, if you want to discuss any of the topics tonight, mainly Pokemon, please come join us in the Facebook group, or we can have where we can have an open discussion, and we can call you a cunt to your face. What we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong, because most likely we don't have a clue what we're talking about here, so it's going to be wrong. We can agree to disagree in fandoms. Let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxicity behaviour out of fandoms, out of nerdisms.
Oh, he said toxicity.
Toxicity. So yes.
Oh,
He's like a
Paul.
regular coughing, he is.
So coughing and wheezing, shall we say.
I've smogged myself. Ooh.
So yes, so Pokemon. So when were you first, like, say, you're initialized into the Pokemon world? We'll start with Goodwill, so you can feel all uncomfortable.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Was it a week ago or something?
It was 3 hours ago.
Has your what is it, anxiety leveled up at this point? Goodwill.
Yes, it's evolved. It's now anxiety and depression.
It's a full-blown panic attack.
It's a full, yes. My watch is
need to waste
beeping.
the moonstone. Is
Yes.
amazing.
No, in all seriousness, I was introduced in 1999 to the TV series because, you know, I'm from Middlesbrough, therefore I am poor. So I never had a Nintendo. I had a PlayStation. I could not have both.
Right.
So I never played the video game. So the TV series was premiered on CITV on ITV, which is a really crap channel in the UK. And I loved the series. Ash Ketchum sounded like he smoked 40 a day. I don't know if anyone else did that, because he was like, "I'm gonna hunt all the Pokemon."
To be fair, though, Goodwill, you do bear.
Hold on, was that Burrow Pokemon?
Yeah, you do bear a bit of a resemblance
Pokemon.
to an older Ash. Are you Ash, like, grown up now? He's trying to disguise himself as a
Hang on,
unicorn.
Is that why he was called Ash? Because of all the cigarette ash around
Tab
him.
Ash, yeah.
Yes, I
Pikachu,
am 35-year-old Ash Ketchum who has collected all the Pokemon and now has nothing else to live for, so is taken to rampant alcoholism. But, no, it was.
This is non-canon.
Is it?
It's a canon. It was for me. It was the TV series, and in terms of the games, I've never. God, I'm going to get crucified for this. I've never played them, but I have watched others play them. So I've watched the lovely Jake,
including me, even though you weren't paying attention by the sound of it.
Oh my God, get over it. It was 6 months ago.
No, I think naming a Pokemon after someone is a very special thing that you're supposed to cherish.
I don't know. Was it a Squircle?
Oh,
That's
God.
all I know.
This is the first domestic we've had on the
The name just started after him and he wasn't paying attention.
Oh,
It was a
hold my
Totodile,
earrings.
everyone.
Oh God.
If you don't know the difference between a Totodile and a Squirtle, you're not looking. You're doing something wrong.
Oh, there's going to be so many in your
Many
windows
men have
to
said
say.
that to me, honestly.
Ladies. But I've watched others play the games. I always enjoy watching others play, but I feel if I played them, it would annoy me quite a lot because they are not my type of game to play on my own. I think I would have to play it with a friend. But for me, it was mostly the TV series in the late 90s. That's where my Pokemon started.
I didn't realize, like, because I did try and do a bit of research about this, because my knowledge of Pokemon, I used to like Goodwill. I fell in love with the TV show back when I was about a teenager. Just like say, it was when cartoons and TV shows used to be coexist and be good TV back in the day. So my little, like, say, foray into it was, like, say, the first season, and I played the games on the Game Boy. That was my, like, say, love. I loved playing. You always had a choice. You either always blue or red, and unfortunately, I'm not going to say I was a red, but I was a blue.
Yeah, me too.
Yes,
Me too.
It was the best one,
yes.
honestly. Well, unless you wanted Porygon, and then it was really, really expensive for some reason.
that was the thing, and for, like, say, Game Boy games as well, they weren't really that immersive unless you got addicted to Tetris, which could take your life away very easily. But the Game Boy games were amazing to play, but again, spoilers for anyone who hasn't, had one of the most irritating parts in the game, where if you got near the end and you didn't do a certain act right, you lost out on one of the special Pokemon, and you only got one chance to catch it. And if you didn't, you had to start the game right from the start. You couldn't just pick up from a save point. It basically fucked you like royally in that game.
Hold on. Are we still covering spoilers for Pokemon Red and Blue? You know, it's like a game that is older than probably most of the people watching it.
Yeah, it was a massive learning curve, like for a child. I feel like that, because it was most people's first RPG and most people's first experience of like, oh, I've just saved that and now I can't go back ever again, or I've forgot to save after like 6 hours and now I've lost everything.
Pokemon was my first experience of going, oh, you have to save games.
Yeah.
Like there's a button that says save. So I played through for a couple of hours when I first bought it, turned the Game Boy back on and was like, where? Do I just have to do this in one run like Sonic? Like I just you go.
All of my friends are dead.
Like Mario, crazy. Where you just go.
That's crazy because obviously I was very familiar with like save games at that point and stuff, but I came from the era where basically like the PlayStation, where if you didn't have a memory card, then you just went, oh, I'll just play it anyway. I don't need a memory card. It's only Final Fantasy VII.
I'll just leave the console.
I'll just leave the console on for like 7 days. And obviously my mom's just like, no.
Electricity was a bit cheaper back then, shall we say?
Well, isn't it crazy? Just like, hang on, Mom. You're saying that was expensive back then. Try it now. You know?
Yes, I keep getting the conversation with my wife. Why are you leaving the laptop on? It's because I'm getting the views up, not that I'm cheating.
It's processing, I swear.
Don't tell them how the sausage is made. What are you doing?
But yeah, like, did any of you guys manage to like catch Pokemon when it was on? Was it like SMTV Live?
SMTV Live
with Ant and Dec doing their own versions of the characters in between.
Yeah,
basically just as Ant and Dec always were on that show, coked up and going nuts.
Like a true Geordie, true Northern fucking.
I have to say, how good was SMTV Live? Like it was one of these weird things where we'd had all these years of like very controlled kind of BBC kind of things where it's like the weirdest thing we got was like Trev and Simon or something.
Yeah.
And then SMTV Live and like CD UK really upped the bar of utter craziness.
And it was at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Donkey, and you're like
9:25.
9:25 till CD UK Live came on, and it was like, it was unhinged. A lot of it.
Brilliant.
And like now,
a lot of good sketch segments as well, including the fake Pokemon battles.
Or Chums, or Wonky Donkey as well.
Wonky Donkey, Splatoon.
But they were very clever the way they did it, because they used to give it part 1 of the cartoon earlier on. So you used to get up early to watch it, and then you have to watch the rest of the show, because they didn't used to tell you what time the next second part of the show was going to be on. So they've done that. They used to split all the cartoons. I remember they used to do that with Batman, the animated TV show as well. They used to watch the first part.
That'll really set the mood for the episode.
But how crazy was it though? Like that felt like the first time that people actually had a knowledge of what the show they were sort of presenting was going to be. Like, you know how previously they just had cartoons, they'd be like, oh, it's Pokemon, there you go. Or they'd be like, in this episode, something happens. In the Andak actually must have watched the fucking episode that was
you could tell.
To be like, here's a parody of it, and you're like, this is a lot more involved than like.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that Dec kind of seemed to hate it, like having to do the sketches, but yeah, like they were at least watched one part of one episode to get the general idea.
I don't know why. There's an episode where they had an argument before the second half started about how you pronounce the word Pokemon. They were like, do you pronounce the E's a Pokemon? And then they started
It's
playing
Pokemon, not Pokemon.
They started playing the episode, and somebody said Pokemon out loud, and it cut back to the studio, and Deck was going, I told you.
They're just waiting for the first line read.
Yeah, I was like, they're sitting watching the episode as it's being broadcast, like having a tab or something, and he's like, right, no, come back.
It's so good.
Because when we said we were going to do this episode as well, I was like, right, I'm going to try and remember stuff. And I'll be honest, the memory didn't. Normally with like things like Red Dwarf and stuff, everything little thing floods back and it leads in the other. Pokemon I struggled with a little bit, so I went back and watched a few episodes. The one thing, and I think we were talking about it on the stream earlier with Graham, the thing that jumped back into my memory and clawed its way in, and now I feel like I'm infected, is the music. Because like the opening song, again, I had to infect everyone else who joined the stream beforehand because it's been driving us crazy.
Can you stop saying infect?
It's how it goes. But I didn't realize as well, I forgot about the Pokemon rap at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Why can't I not remember this? And then the little songs in between, like the Team Rocket's little repartee.
Oh yeah.
And then
it was what I was saying on stream. I've had it stuck in my head all day because obviously the Team Rocket motto is the thing, but then there's the one episode, the Jigglypuff episode, where they do a song instead, and it's a totally different like version of the motto, and I've had that stuck in my head for about 20 plus years, and it's just, and the fact that I was singing it on my Twitch stream earlier and just being like, how do I remember all of this? You know, it's so fucking weird. But this is the thing. It's whether it hit us in our formative years, whether it was just that good. But yeah, the show was fantastic.
Was this everyone's like first exposure to anime as well?
Yeah.
No,
Like,
no. When I was a kid, I obviously, my first exposure to anime was probably Uroku Doji, you know, which is probably not a good start. But my brother was like that. And what is it? Legend of the Overfiend, is it? I don't know how you pronounce it.
I've heard of that.
Actually, Project Echo. We had a VHS of a parody anime called Project Echo that everyone should watch because it's hilarious. But it was a bit weird that my first introduction to anime was a parody of all anime. So it has all these references to other things in. And then I was like, and then I eventually saw it and I was like, oh, this is a weird thing to, it's like starting with a compilation or a best of album. But
like how we all watched The Simpsons and experienced pop culture references through that, like from
and then
50s.
you watch the movie afterwards, and you're like, "Oh, that's where that Simpsons bit is from."
Rosebud, yeah.
This was probably my first taste of anime, but the reason I liked it reminded us of a cartoon I used to watch when I was like a little bit younger. Just trying to make sure I got the name of it right. The Mysterious Cities of Gold.
Yeah,
that wasn't quite anime, but it was like American style. It was kind of like, I think, taken in. But
was that one of those? Because I remember it, but I can't remember whether it was actually an American like play, like an American studio getting like Japanese artists to do it. Because was it a weird thing where it wasn't actually a Japanese anime? But
I believe so. Yeah, I think you're spot on. They took the look, and that was the thing. It was like a few of the ones did the same where they were looking for like the city of El Dorado and stuff like that. Where and then they done, what was it? The Wheelies, like the Planet Warriors and stuff. It was like really out there concepts.
Wheel Warriors
and stuff. This is before we got like the big influx of the anime, but I think they were taking like aspects and westernizing them as well. But then Pokemon was probably my first like true anime where like it was like the concept was so batshit crazy, and I think we were joking on before we started talking about where some 14-year-old kid goes, "Okay, if you're going to be a Pokemon master, I don't want you in the house anymore. Fuck off. Go and see the professor. Pick a Pokemon.
I live with a mime now."
And, to be fair, I don't know if you've seen it because it's on a lot of sort of the gay nerd groups and stuff. But the amount of very suspect fan art of certain Pokemon. Because obviously there's a fine line between certain Pokemon and furries, it's literally all. There's this famous comic strip or whatever. It was literally like the dad coming in to check on their kid and just being like, "Oh, are you okay, son?" And the kid's in bed with all of his Pokemon, but all the Pokemon are like Machamp, Machoke, the massive, huge,
All the
bear,
Jax
muscular
ones.
ones, and he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm just here in bed with my friends." And the dad's like,
the ones with the arms and stuff. They can reach in all the places that nobody else
Well,
can.
Can you imagine?
Okay, this is sus as fuck.
Yeah, no. Can you imagine if Pokemon was real though? You would look at people's like team composition and you'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, I know what you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it eventually. But like, I keep musing about what the fuck it would be like if I had my favorite Pokemon like in the real world, and just being like, this makes life a lot more difficult to do anything. You know?
Getting squirted in the face by Squirtle, but yeah, someone was going to say it. I'd have either one.
I think Squirtle was one of the first things I ever saw in the anime. I think I turned it on because I was like, this is a video game, and it was just Squirtle running around barfing water all over the floor. And, like, I can remember my cousins being like, "What the hell's this?" It's like, it's gonna be good, I swear.
Something
It's
will
gonna be the
happen.
next big thing.
Also, Sammy's in the chat.
Oh, hi,
Hey,
Sammy.
Sammy.
Hope you're enjoying your
Sammy.
holiday. Hope you're
Hello,
not too
my
pissed.
name's Sammy, and I'm having a holiday. How delightful!
Keep saying that in the group chats.
Doesn't have an Hawaiian shirt though, does she?
No, she does have a cocktail as well, I bet you. But saying that though, I did forget something at the start, and the chat will go crazy if I don't remember it as well.
Oh, God.
I've been watching the Goonies again. Funny enough, and I did notice some extra people in the Goonies that's not been in before, so you guys won't be able to
It's
see
Sloth the
this.
Pokemon.
Possibly, but there is 2 new Goonies that's people's been Goonied as well. I did promise there would be 2 new ones, so the pictures are up now.
Switch to monitor too.
So this is where Goodwill's going to have an erection and probably never disappear for a long time.
Bold claim.
Put glass down.
Yeah, I'll need both hands for this.
Oh.
So yes, there's 2 new Goonies being added now. I thought I'd do the brave thing and say I saw myself, and I couldn't bring myself to make anyone else Sloth other than me. So yes, I'm joined by Beth.
Okay, I'm back.
So yes, so me and Beth are now Goonies as well. So yes, I'm sorry to digest.
Hold on. Have you put Beth over Chunk?
Who's better than that over Beth over Sloth?
Chunk's a hero.
Okay.
Well,
Hero of the movie.
You
So
guys.
the real hero of the Goonies, I had to put it in, but yeah, I was thinking about who can I put as Sloth. I was like, I can't do anyone without offending. So
Does that mean you will do anything for a baby Ruth?
I will do anything for a Baby Ruth. Yes, as you'll find out
Good.
at SunnyCon. So yeah.
You know what I'm buying in America?
And Goodwill's tied to a chair.
Bottomless
Screaming.
chair. A bottomless chair.
All of a sudden here is that was it the Reservoir Dogs music and
Oh, great.
and Razor and stuff, and it's like, oh shit, this is going to go south really badly. So Pokemon, yes.
Yeah.
So Graham, what was your first foray into Jigglypuff and all the likes?
Foray into Jigglypuff. You never asked a gay man that. That's like,
we've just
no,
brought in
my
Goodwill there.
first was actually the game. It was literally like, I'm old enough that it was when the game came out, it was the thing. And I'm someone who's always been on the outside of everything when it comes to trends and like, fads and stuff, because I don't care about fashion. I don't really care about anything, that like is popular. But this was the first time that in school, everyone was doing something and everyone was talking about a certain thing. And I was like, I want to be part of this, and like got the game, and then it was all we talked about, and it was like, it was a phenomenon. And this is weird because obviously it's very, very rare. Like, I'm shocked at the minute because I've just bought Diablo 4 and realized that I can actually play games with my mates at a time when the game is relevant, rather than being like, I waited 4 years. Who wants to play this game? And they're like, we kind of did that. For Pokemon, like, it was literally everything. Like, it was just this wave of, you had Red and Blue, the game that came out, and we all had that on our Game Boys and stuff. And then the Game Boy Color came out later, I think, and they brought out Pokemon Yellow, where you started, well, the show came out, and then you had Pokemon Yellow, where you started with Pikachu. That seems like a good idea, but was basically hard mode because he's shit. Where it's like,
First gym.
the first gym's a rock gym. This will be fun. Oh, well, I'll just spend 5, like, that was the first introduction as a child to grinding, where you're just like, oh, well, time to make this fucking Caterpie good enough to kill an Onyx.
Just to make sure we get the right one, grinding and grinder are two different things.
The Pokemon are uglier on Grinder.
You'll catch something.
You can catch them all in a different sense, to be fair. But yeah, and then it was that, and obviously the TV show, the card game, it was everything. It was like, yeah, I think Pokemon was one of the first things where I was literally in the center of it all, being like, oh, here's this new thing, and here's this new thing. Oh, the cereal is there. Let's have that. Oh, there's a TV show. Let's watch that every day,
Did anyone play the N64 version when it came out? It wasn't the collector one, it was the battle. Was it the Battle Arena one?
I was playing it on stream the other
Pokemon
week.
Stadium.
Pokemon Stadium, that's the one.
Yeah.
I only played it once or twice, but it's because we kind of gave up on the N64, because the problem is the N64 came out and then the PlayStation came out, and you're like, why should I play an N64? Which is, when the games were like the same price and stuff. But we had a mate who played it, and we played it a couple of times, but it felt weird that you got to pick your team. Because I think the joy of Pokemon is that you catch them, you build them up and stuff, and that's kind of how you have your team. Whereas in Pokemon Stadium, you kind of just seem to start by just going, oh, well, I'll have a level 100 Mewtwo then.
Yeah, you would rent them, or you had to connect your Game Boy game to this little pack that went in the controller.
Yeah,
and then you could have your guys on the big screen.
That's what I would have liked, but I don't think we had it. I think we literally went, oh, well, 2-player setup. Oh, well, I'll have the best.
You had to have the weird.
You were 16. Yeah.
You had the weird Mad Catz controller, so see through.
Can I just ask a question? Aside from the obvious cash grab for Nintendo, why was there 2 versions of the game?
There is no reason.
I think it was literally the idea of, I think it's a great mechanic. Because you basically had it where some Pokemon were only available in one of them. Some of them were available in another. Because you've got to think the whole principle of Nintendo is interaction. Yes, it's about making money, but it's about innovation. That's how we have crazy shit like the Wii. That's how we have the Switch, where you go, it can be a console, but it's also a handheld, And the whole thing was basically going, hey, it kind of went, oh, you can only have one of these games, so you need to interact with your friends and be part of a community effort if you want this one who's in red. So you have to trade with your mate, and then you can get that one. And these guys will only actually evolve if you trade them with someone. So I think it was Kadabra was basically, if you had that, you couldn't make Alakazam, which is the 3rd level, except by sending it to a friend, and then it evolved. So it was this whole thing where it was Nintendo trying to get kids to be involved with each other. Yeah, but it was if you bought 2 of them, if you bought Red and Blue and you were rich or something, it was still a faff on to. You needed 2 Game Boys.
You needed 2 Game Boys, yeah.
But it was absolutely obviously it's nice that they were oh yeah, we'll encourage families to play it together, but it was absolutely the kind of thing where you'd be talking to your cousins, you'd be oh, tell your mom to get your Pokemon Red for Christmas. Because
100%.
I've got Blue.
Need my fucking Scyther, thank you.
But I think it was obviously designed. It was obviously designed to be oh, for the perfect family with 2 children who both like games and have their own Game Boys, they can get 1 copy of the game each, and everyone is happy. Buy the link cable. But the marketing was the marketing for this must have been insane. Which, when you think about it being a totally I guess it was approved in Japan, but so by the time it came out over here, they were a bit ready for the phenomenon. Yeah. But the magazines were all talking it up, because that's where I first saw about screenshots in the magazines. They were going nuts about it months before it was even out. So all the kids knew when it was coming out. It was probably the first time I remember there being released buzz about a video game, because I was probably a bit too young to like hit like Mortal Kombat time when it was like it's coming to console and everyone went wild. It was just like, yeah. But this was like exactly like how Grim described it. You'd be like on the telephone to your friends, being like, "Wow, I've just found this thing," and you'd be like, "What?" And then they'd go check it in their game and stuff like that. But I think they pretty much banned it in schools though, like
Oh, 100%, yeah.
for playing and talking about
the teacher's desk just full of fucking Game
Well,
Boys.
it wasn't just the games, it was like the cards that was banned from the schools because there used to be like genuine fights and raids over people's like cards or collections.
or just frigging a black market appearing in the school yard where you're getting like cash for like dumbass Blastoises and shit.
Graham raised a very interesting point in that. Like, I love that like element to it as well. Is like with Pokemon and Nintendo, not just like themselves, they've always went hand in hand with innovation when it comes to like the gamings inside. As you said, they're connecting through the Game Boys to swap Pokemon. They're uploading from Game Boys to N64 to battle your own packs, to the points where now, like say when they released Pokemon Go, that just changed the world for mobile phone gaming as a whole. Like it blew Candy Crush out the water, like generally, like crazily, to the point now where, like say, it's coming out on the Switch and people were generally going nuts for it again over the Switch. It's always like evolving and it's always like changing with the times, and it's amazing. Like even Pokemon Go is changing from like that, like the simple form when it first had it, to the point where you've got now where you've got like raid zones and people where like I'll be one of the ones that like say admit I was banned from Pokemon Go. I wasn't allowed to play on it because I spoofed my like GPS, so I could go and get like travel to Tokyo and get a Far Cry, and go to Australia and get the kangaroo one, and go to Texas and get the buffalo one.
Oh, you mean Kangaskhan, which is kangaroo and Genghis Khan mixed
Taurus.
together for some reason.
Taurus, that was it. So I'll like so.
And it's still more creative than the ones they're coming out with now, Jake. It's
all horrible puns now. A teacup called Sinistea.
Sinistea.
Like Sinister Tea.
But yeah,
Goodwill would have a field day. He's shaking his head. He loves this shit. The bottom of the barrel puns, the low hanging fruit.
The thing is though that it's like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this felt like the first thing that was massive in Japan that became massive in the West. Like, because all of these things that we had from Japan weren't massive, like Transformers.
Yeah.
Japan didn't really give a shit about Transformers. They kind of did them, and they had a range and stuff, and they're like, oh, that's decent kind of thing. But then, like, it's Transformers happened, and then they had the toys, which were from something else.
Yeah.
And, stuff like Gundam and things like that. That was kind of, it was big in America, and then it kind of was using toys from other things, same as what they called Macross and... What is it?
Battletech?
Robotech and stuff.
Robotech, yeah.
Yeah, but Pokemon, for me as a kid, that was the first time that something was massive in Japan and it actually infected the rest of the world with the same kind of enthusiasm and the same kind of...
Yeah, do you think it was because, like, the time between releases, like, was only about a year or something, and people were obviously still playing it, whereas we were getting, like, way old cartoons, like, years and years later. But, like, this was, like, they were still watching it and playing it while we were, so I think it did kind of like bring everyone to like the same page.
I mean, that's the thing. I guess I think the thing that made this a phenomenon was the interactive element, the fact that every single thing about it, whether you're playing the card game, whether you're watching the TV show, whether you're whether you're playing the actual video game and stuff, all of that required interaction that we hadn't really seen with other stuff. Like, like Masters of the Universe was great, but you basically got the figures and smashed them about with your mate kind of thing. There wasn't like depth.
There was a lot of smashing in Masters of the Universe, yes.
There was, like
ramming.
Why do you think He-Man never bothered to get fully dressed?
That's a whole different concept. But
write that fan fiction later. Right.
It's already written. Don't worry.
I should read it out. Can we do a Nerdy Up North where just me reading out
I would.
horrendous He-Man?
It's been talked about. Yeah,
I'm happy with that. But yeah, what about you, Joe? What was your first, like, say, exposure to the whole concept?
Wow. Okay. Sorry. I was trying to figure this out, because it was either the show or it was the game, and I remember distinctly getting the game and the first time I played it, and that's a stronger memory than watching the show. So I think it was the game, and I think there was so much hype. Wow, I'm bad at podcasts.
Yeah. Sorry, just remember to swallow. It's fine.
Don't listen to him.
That's how you get on the podcast.
That's why I'm here.
You didn't say how to do that.
You said you'd make me a star.
Yeah, so I think it was the game. I think there was that much hype around the game. I remember going, this is such a way, because I was talking to my mom and I was saying, I'm going to be on a podcast about Pokemon this weekend. And she was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I was like, I'm trying to remember, like, was I into Pokemon before I got the game? I was like, because you took me into Sunderland Town and we went to Woolworths on Fawcett Street and I bought Pokemon Blue and we lived in this house. So it must have been before this date. And she looked at me and she was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I don't really care. And I was like, yeah.
What was Woolworths?
Got to shout out Woolworths.
A magical
there.
place.
Yeah, magical place where you used to get all the pick and mix.
Yeah.
Tiny cans of pop this big.
Yeah. I was playing this game and I was like, right, I'm reading the little instruction manual and it's got like the Pokemon you can catch, and I'm like, but I can't find this one. And my mum was like, oh, well, I've been reading the newspaper and it says that that you need another game and you need to trade with them. And I was like, what? I need friends. Like,
no.
I mean,
can't it just be satanic like everything else in the 90s?
So I remember knowing at school which people had Pokemon Red, so that if I was like, when I was getting to that point in the game, I'd be like, yeah, can we hang out? Like this weekend, I'll bring my Game Boy.
Well,
could you trade me
surreptitiously rather than actually being like, we could both trade? Like
I remember one guy, him not knowing really what he was doing, and I was like, yeah, you need to give me an Oddish. You will find an Oddish in this area. Like I was ruthless. Nothing was getting by.
You were like, take my Bellsprout.
Weren't you too young for that, Joe?
No.
I will receive every game exclusive. You will receive Pidgey.
Pidgey or no. Oh, and
you should also trade me a starter as well. You'll get another one, I swear.
Oh, because it always used to start with like the same three, though. It was always Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle. Unless you got yellow, then you started with Pikachu.
Yeah, but you did get all three starters in that game, and that made that very valuable. Because if you knew someone with Pokemon Yellow, you could trade all three starters from one playthrough.
What?
Yeah, you just got given them at random points. Like it was kind of like it kind of followed the TV show. You'd be like, "Oh, the Squirtle Squad's in town," and then you'd get one.
Squirtle Squad. Okay, Squirtle Squad. It's not what you think. It doesn't have anything to do with Berlin Goodwill.
No, they were criminals, and then they turned them into firefighters when they went good. I guess.
Oh god, I've got to call the fire brigade Squirtle Squad.
If we all put sunglasses on right now, we would be the Squirtle Squad. That's all it was.
Squirtle Squad was episode 8 or 7, or wasn't it on the original show? I think that was the one where
it took a while
because it went through. It was Ash collecting his like little buddies and stuff.
That was a big thing about the show. It had like progression, which cartoons didn't bother with a lot of the time. Or they would have episodes where you could drop it anywhere and it would be okay, but maybe it did have like a finale or something. But like this one was like, oh, I didn't know. Like I missed him catch Charmander, so I guess I just have to accept that.
Yeah, he's got Charmander
to come on again.
Well, it even had other ones where it had like kind of weird, sad episodes where like the things would evolve and whatnot. Like remember when Team Rocket's because Team Rocket famously had Ekans and coughing, and then they basically decided to let them evolve in order to sort of have more power, but they were really emotional because it's a new Pokemon effectively, and I think they gain a new personality or something when they evolve, and it was just like that was really weird. But then from then on they have what is it? What are they?
Wheezing and Arbok.
Ekans coughing goes to what does Ekans transform into?
Arbok.
Arbok, yeah. I remember it's nothing to do with anything, but it's backwards.
Hey, Goodwill. What's Ekans backwards?
I was about to say I was 34 years old when I'd realised that Ekans was Snake backwards. Thank you, Stephanie Sterling.
Yeah,
and what's fucking Sinisty?
And what's Arbok backwards as well?
Oh, I don't bloody know. Are you asking me?
That's, like you were saying, all these new generations, they're just like terrible puns. They were always terrible puns.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like, it's pure rose tinted glasses for me. Where I'm like, oh no, it was always a pile of shit.
It's always been like this.
So coming to the next generation ones and like thing, because I always like with Graham. I grew up with the first 150. 151 or 150?
Yep, 151 and
One.
Green.
Mew was always there. He's in the intro for the cartoon.
Yeah.
And you had missing number, technically. You could cast missing number, so I'm calling 152.
I think we used to call that Missingo as a kid. I don't know why.
I didn't realize, yeah, because it was all capitals, so it was just like missing, and you're like, okay, well, my game's fucked.
Because I know they try to get around it in the first episode where the like the Pokédex says, oh, there's a lot of Pokemon that hasn't been found and been named when the flying one goes back. I can't. It was like a
Ho-Oh's the first episode. Yeah.
But then when they brought out the next gen ones, they weren't like hidden away on mystical ones. They were just like all over the place. Like, where the fuck are these Pokemons come from and where they've been?
Oh yeah.
So what was the explanation behind that? Because that's something I could never get past.
Different regions. Every game is set in a different region. So the first one is the Kanto region for Generation 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically they go, oh, this other region has these other ones. But then when they go back to Kanto, it has all of the other ones.
It's an absolute retcon, but I guess at first they were trying to be like, oh well, Professor Oak is the expert of the Kanto region. He's got no idea about like Togepi or whatever. But yeah, you're right, Paul. It was like flimsy at best, and it's like there's no way with TV shows and stuff you wouldn't see like someone from the next country over. Like you would be like,
or they wouldn't have even like mentioned it in a letter or something.
Yeah.
I think what they do is like after the fact they'll be like, we knew about this all along. We just never told you.
I just love that Ash is just like, I finally done it. I finally got all 151. And Oak is like, well, actually, hold on, I haven't finished noshing your mum.
Go to a different country.
Yeah.
That's it.
You've got 25 more
You're 15
years.
now, off to another country.
I did promise Donna I would name these people during the podcast as well. I have been getting more interested in Pokemon lately due to a certain YouTube sensation that is Scuba Steph. Doing her version.
Why do you like her, Paul? Why do you like Scuba Steph?
Well, she's a redhead with huge tits, so I'm not going to lie. But they've been doing the one.
We call that a Misty.
They've been doing the version of
She was 10, Graham. She was 10. Back
So I just Schofielding it up here.
Misty's sister's
35 now.
But yeah, like her versions of where she's been dressing up as the police officer Jenny, and a friend's been dressing up as Nurse Joy, and they've been running around trying to capture Team Rocket and stuff in LA, America, and it's just one of the most hilarious things you've ever seen. I think I shared a video with Jake. I was like, "This is why I like Pokemon again." But yeah, sorry, that's the perverted side now.
Well, I think that's
Prepare
it.
for
Though.
trouble and make it double.
It's the fact of like it's a cartoon or something with so many tropes. Like just how hilarious the cartoon is, where it takes the piss out of the video game. Where obviously in the video game they're like, "Oh, you went to a Pokemon Center. Well, we're just not going to make new sprites for new people all the time." So the person working at all of the shops is exactly the same sprite. And then in the cartoon they're like, we'll just make it where they all look exactly the same.
Yeah, they're all sisters technically.
Yeah, so they're all just like related to each other, but identical twins. And you're just going like, that's the silliest thing I've ever seen.
But then Brock
they
can
just
tell
roll
the
with it.
difference because he's so horny. He's like, oh no,
Yeah.
like, they're all completely different. Like,
Well, I mean, this is the thing, like, because obviously I'm the outsider when it comes to Pokemon. I've always, in my mind, established it like the timeline of Pokemon is set in some dystopian future where all these animals have evolved from some horrific nuclear apocalypse where we've got a Squirtle and we've got a Pikachu and a Charmander, and it's like, oh, he breathes fire because he was irradiated or his species was irradiated. Now I'm like, yes, there's going to be 37 different nurses that all look alike because human mutations.
I'm
They are the
surprised they
rules
can
of
reproduce.
Pokemon. Yeah.
there's I mean, there's the slight like drops hints of that kind of exact thing in the games.
Really?
But it's not actually true, but there's like, I mean, there's one of the gym leaders is a lieutenant, so it's like
Lieutenant
they had wars
Surge,
at some point.
he talks directly about his Raichu
Yeah,
electrocuting people
in the
a
war.
And you're gonna think like warfare must be really fucked up.
Where's
in
Ash's
that
dad?
universe? Where is Ash's dad?
Yeah.
Jesus, the POWs. Are you going to talk? No. Pika.
So,
Well, like
I
you
just
have
like
to
that all
you have
the
to share a
Pokemon are
cell with
prisoners
Mr.
of war.
Mime.
Yeah, like
God, no.
the electric rat. You're just like, oh well, we're gonna get Drowsy in here, and he's gonna just scramble your brain. You're like, oh, okay.
To be fair though, you would just punch Mr. Mime
Eat your
repeatedly in the
dreams.
face. You would just like,
Oh,
shit,
yeah.
you creepy fucking bastard.
We put a barrier
How
up.
was it, like the movie Detective Pikachu was kind of great because it
horrible,
kind of brought these real world, like,
Mm.
oh, but how would a world like this actually work?
Yeah.
And it was kind of wonderful because it had this dark side of stuff where it was like, oh yeah, people can just use this Pokemon for like actual horrible shit or crimes and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like dog fights. I think they had like an underground fighting ring type of thing. Oh.
So
But
who would-
like
So
I was gonna say, like, to bring this back to being slightly wholesome. When you were a kid, like that like Pokemon was like the ideal escapism world, because who didn't want like ultimate freedom to go and just be like, I'm just gonna battle monsters. That's gonna be my job.
Yeah.
I always feel a bit sad for them though as well, because they used to get the shit out of each other, and I know they made a big
Yeah.
reference to it in the Pokemon movie where like Mewtwo like clones all of the Pokemon, gives him extra powers, and he's going to show my superiority. I'm going to suspend their special abilities, so they've just got them braying into each other, or just
Yeah.
headbutting each other, or just leaning on each other.
Pikachu gets the shit slapped out of him because
Yeah,
he
so-
won't fight.
He's like, I'm not fighting back. But like that happened pretty much on a episode by episode. Like they're really sad. They shouldn't fight like this. Wait there. They should use the special powers to bray the shit out of each other. That's the way they should battle. I was like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
It is the whole concept is fucked up. Like, you know, as soon as you actually apply it to the real world, it'll be like, what the hell? Like, this is literally animal cruelty.
Yeah.
But I think it's this idea of you have to suspend disbelief for, like, you know, it's like Mario, where you just have him being like, oh, there's probably a whole, you know, ecology or something like in this world, and he just comes over being smash these blocks, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
stomp
you
on
don't-
these
Punch some
mushrooms,
bricks.
You don't
kick all
think
these
about
turtles, and you're
Yes,
like,
he
okay, that's-
stomps a turtle to death. You can't really think about
yeah,
it.
that
too
turtle's
much.
family just being like, oh baby, and then Mario's like, I've got his body.
Now I have fire powers. You shall burn.
I swallowed your dead child, and
To
now
be
I
fair
can shoot
though, I could
fireballs.
see Chris Pratt doing that type of thing. Just saying. But,
Yeah.
But it's like in the games where they say like, "Oh, Ekans has fainted." I'm like, no, they're in intensive care with major life-threatening injuries because
Yeah,
they
like-
just had their shit kicked out of them.
He's got hit by flamethrower. Like that can't
Yeah.
just that wouldn't just make you faint.
Oh, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like keep your Charmander out of the rain, because if the fire in his tail goes out, it doesn't just pass out; it
So
fucking
how has that
dies.
species? How has that species survived? Darwin would be turning in his grave if he heard that.
Well,
I'll tell you
I
why
do
everyone survives: free healthcare.
That's it. You know, they are the perfect example of free healthcare, where he's just like, this world would not function without like the Pokemon centers or the NHS or whatever. But I do like the idea that we're cycling around the idea that there's literally dead Pokemon, like ghost
are.
type Pokemon,
In,
and
in
then like you know where it's
universe.
like, oh, and then what is it in the first one where it's get ready for this, Cubone's mum Marowak.
Yeah.
Who is literally dead, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, Cubo, what is it? Cubone has like a skull that he wears, and it's his
Yeah.
dead parents' skull. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, as a
Which-
helmet, you say.
It's
This
very
is
Mad
not something-
Maxian.
Yes.
Which then raises like Paul was saying, like problems of
But
like
if they have more
logic.
than one
Wait.
kid, do they have to swap it between them? Sorry.
Yeah, like logic problems. Like, well, how did the first one ever happen? Because you know, like
Yeah.
That's it.
how could
What
the
did the
first
first Cubone wear on its head?
yeah before it died and became a helmet?
This got
Um,
dark.
I think there's like there is literal like references in Pokemon to humans dying and becoming ghost Pokemon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's
I'm
one
sorry,
that's like
what?
there's one that's like a ghost that comes out of like a death mask, and like everyone's like, oh well, this is just the trapped spirit of a human. Like it's like, oh okay.
Yeah.
Does he
Just
still have?
This is just a human death. Like this
Does he have feelings anymore? Does he remember his old life?
I like the idea of having a world where basically anything that is slightly mutated is just classed as a Pokemon. So they've literally just got a sort of like sort of, like a sort of a French person with severe like physical deformities, and they're like, "That's a Pokemon." And you're like,
The
"No,
Elephant Man.
it's not Mr. Mime." Like it's just
Was the Elephant Man a Pokemon?
I am not
Disgusting.
an animal. No, you are.
throwing a ball at them. Like,
Well, that's the thing. Like,
that's
in-
my
in-
nana.
yeah, in the Pokemon world, like I think the tech, there is some kind of weird magic tech going on.
Mhm.
Like you can't catch humans in balls, so maybe that is
Yeah.
how the weed it out. Like they just throw a ball at it. If it like goes inside, like okay, it's a Pokemon.
One thing as well, I always had the
glitch
question.
or something.
No, I think I used to have a question about with the actual show as well, because you know how all the different Pokemon, like when they communicate, they'll say the one name, they'll just say it in a different way. Why is Meowth like? Why does that cat like talk full English and talk full?
Oh,
There
there's a
is-
whole,
there
there's
is
a
a
whole
You know
episode
that,
on
yeah.
that.
I'll let you tell the story of it.
yeah,
I
Joe,
was
go
just-
on.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try and remember the episode now. He's like, he wants to impress someone. When he was,
Giovanni.
Giovanni.
No, it's
yeah,
a girl. It's a girl.
It's a girl.
cat.
It's a girl Meowth, I
Oh.
think.
Yeah.
And so he learns English to impress her, and she's just I don't think she's impressed. Like,
No, and
why are you speaking the language of the oppressors?
yeah, she kind of calls him a freak, and then he's like,
Yeah.
oh shit. And because of that, he can no longer battle because he like traded his moves in for like human speech.
Wow.
That's why he's like terrible at battling.
Right.
But then obviously the crime syndicate was like, you're pretty rare and interesting. Want to be on our
Yeah.
Want
side?
to be a Team Rocket?
But that's it. But then he was Giovanni's pet, and then obviously Giovanni got a Persian, and he got
And he-
kicked off. He got kicked off and had to work with bloody Jesse and James.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's canon or not, but I think the girl Meowth he was trying to impress was the Persian. I might be
Ooh.
making that up.
Really?
I don't know.
We're gonna make our own legacy.
Well,
up
I
here
mean,
as
Yeah.
well.
the episode's great though because it's like Meowth telling this like film noir story. Like he's even in
Yeah.
a little trench coat and everything, like telling his backstory. I loved it.
He's, like,
how that
homeless.
translated from Japanese, I've got no idea.
So questions regarding like actual Pokemon themselves. The Goodwill's gonna have fun with this one.
Oh,
So-
God.
So what would you say is your favorite Pokemon, but which ones you actually relate to as well? That like would you say is more yourself? So I would probably go with Snorlax for me, just because I'm a bit.
I was gonna say there's gonna be like 5
lazy
Snorlax
lore.
straight up.
But probably my favorite is probably an Eevee, because like see, I do like the like Fox, but there's also like you don't know what it's going to be like. Say, go towards when it does evolve, because you've always got like the 3 different versions of it as well. So
I'm
that's
sorry,
also-
there's 9 now.
There's
But
9
Paul.
now. Fuck. Can you name all 9, Jake?
No, there must
Yeah.
be more than 9.
Flareon,
surely.
Vaporeon, Jolteon, Umbreon, Espeon, Leafeon, Glaceon, Sylveon. I think that might be it. It might not be 9.
At this
Pretty
point,
sure
I'm no
that's it.
longer validating what you're saying, so you could say.
It's hard on one of them.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you call the rock one? It's like you're gonna have to call it that eventually.
Rocky on.
Sorry, Paul.
That's fine.
It's a nerd out on you
That's fine. Like say you probably give Beth a little bit of a nerd hard on as well there, so that's fine.
because they're all dogs as well. So yeah, that's why people like Eevee.
What about you,
Yeah.
Goodwill? Go on. Which
Oh,
Plumb the depths of your
hands
knowledge.
down. I've known mine for years. It is Galarian Ponyta.
Yes, the unicorn. that
So he's finally got
That's
it
That's a
out
good
there.
one.
was a
I
good
love
one.
it how
You popped me
Ponyta,
good one.
it turns into Rapidash, and you're like, why is it on fire? Surely this makes it the most dangerous
I'm
thing to
ginger.
ride ever. You know?
I'm ginger
No,
and I
Just
go
get
out
on
in the
my
heat.
horse. Ah!
No, if you watch the episode, it doesn't burn you if it trusts
Yeah,
you.
like someone's like sat on its back and like holding onto the fire as if it's a maid, as if it's something tangible they can grip.
Yeah, that's how fire works.
Instead of burning you, they're just like, harder, daddy.
Oh, it's a matter of trust. I can make the fire not hot. Like, what?
I do like the idea of Professor Oak being like, it's very difficult to be a professor in a world where physics means fucking nothing.
Yeah. Forget everything you learned in school.
What
They
about
don't
you?
go to school. When they're 10, they're out the door.
Yeah.
They're actually, yeah, like the only schools you see in the video games are like Pokemon schools where you learn about Pokemon.
Yeah, we
Like,
learn about like status effects. And...
if you hate Pokemon, like you're done in that world. You're like you're probably like shunned from society.
Is Is the reason why they send them out at 10-year-old because the world has been overrun with these mutated animals that they need young people to cull the herd
Yeah,
as
it's
the
social
infestation
conditioning.
of the planet? Yeah.
It's if they didn't, the Pokemon would rise up, and they need they need everyone to be out there enslaving.
And of course, they
Yeah.
sacrifice the young because that is what humans will do.
I, for
Yes.
one,
It's so they don't grow up
accept
questioning
our-
it.
I accept our Pokemon overlords now. What about you, Graham? Which is would you say your favorite or the one you most relate to?
Okay, now Jake will know this, so don't. But basically, you guess what my favorite Pokemon is because nobody ever guesses it.
Jinx.
That is a very good drag queen Pokemon. Actually.
The mime one.
Anyone else want to try? Chat, do you want to have a go? I'm guessing what my
Charmander.
Pokemon is.
Which generation? You said you didn't know anything outside generation.
It's Gen 1.
All right. Okay.
And
Blastoise?
it seems to be.
Playing Who's
Nope.
That Pokemon?
It seems to be who's that Pokemon?
It's a Diggit.
Is it yeah,
Diglett.
it's Doug Trio.
Lee, that's wrong. No, I will tell you who my favorite Pokemon is. It is Executor.
Yes.
How
The
is
best
that?
Pokemon.
How is that Dragon class though? Because I remember that one being classed in Dragon class when
No,
you do.
it's not. It's Psychic / Leaf.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's
That's
Psychic
a that's a
/ Grass.
Alolan Executor.
There's an
that's a
Alolan version of
dragon.
Executor.
Oh, well,
Dragon
I
type.
have the Alolan Executor badge. Now the
I love
hilarious
it.
thing
What
is,
what a freak. What a
I went like it's just like what the fuck happened to this? You know? But this is what I mean. It's like the idea of just like, oh, I'll just go outside with my Pokemon. It's a fucking tree. You know, just like, oh well, you might need to wait outside whilst I go into this shop. And then when you see them in the cartoon, and they're literally about 9 foot tall, basically, and you're just like going, how does this function? You know, like at all.
And then
But,
they make dumbass noises like just like eggs.
But yeah, that is it's absolutely my favorite thing because we have Execute, which is basically a
Eggs.
cute little Execute, which is a pile of psychic eggs that band together. So an
They are cute.
Executor has like pineapple heads, but basically they drop off and then they split up into eggs, or loads of them gather together, become smaller for some reason, and then become like a pile of eggs called Execute, and then they evolve into a palm tree called Executor, where every single head talks differently and thinks different things at the same time, leading to absolute utter chaos, which is why it is my favorite Pokemon, because it is fucking amazing. And also, as a kid, I have my Pokemon. I have loads of Pokemon cards. I found them the other day. But there's my favorite card that was the bane of all of my friends' lives. Because he has an ability called Big Explosion. And I will read Big Explosion to you. Which is flip a number of coins equal to the number of energy attached to Executor. The attack does 20 damage times the number of heads. I would put about 20 energy tokens on 2 different Pokemon and be like, it's my turn now. I'll be flipping coins for the next half hour. And they're just like, please stop. Everything is dead. And I'm just like, no.
He's already dead.
Who is this maniac? So you're saying
My
you're
friends
the,
are
you're
like,
the,
"Could you
you're the
just have
Moriarty.
Charizard.
So you're basically Moriarty of the Pokemon world. Is that what you're saying? The evil genius. But yes.
I just love chaos, as you will see from anything. If you ever play anything with me, if there's a do not push this button, I will be like, let's see what happens.
Or
And
if you watch the previous episode of The Invisible Man, the only business that Graham will go to cause entertainment.
But what people don't realize is Graham's been on every podcast without his
just in the
bandages or his
He's got a full
makeup.
house.
But yeah, I think it's this idea. But like we're saying, like Pokemon, you have one that you kind of get drawn to, whether you just go, oh, it's
Yeah.
really cute, or I'd love to have that in real life. And I think that's it. With Executor, I used to always get one in every game, and it annoyed me that you couldn't get them till really late on. 'cause you
Safari Zone, yeah.
Safari Zone, which is like three-fourths of the way through, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you got them. So what I'd do is I'd get mates to trade me an executor, like, so I'd start the game, get them to trade me an executor, and then because I didn't have the appropriate badges, it wouldn't listen to anything I said, which made the game even more hilarious.
More chaos.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, this is good. Anyway, I'll stop going on about how amazing executor is. I'm really annoyed though, because when I was in Japan, I went to the actual Pokemon shops. I went to the actual Pokemon shops and I was going, oh, finally, it's Japan. I'll be able to get loads of Executor merch. And they were like, why the fuck is that your favorite? The Japanese people are like, what? We have 100 Pikachus. We've got like 1 billion Ghastlies and stuff. And then
does he have the same name in Japanese as well?
Yeah, they're all named exactly the same thing. I think it's really weird.
No, they're sometimes different. Pikachu is exactly the same.
Yeah,
because Charizard is called Lizardon in Japan. It's called Nasi in Japan. Executor.
I can't remember because obviously I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But they had loads of stuff, but they didn't.
An
have the
executor is
selection
called
you'd expect.
Tama, which I think is just egg.
There we go. That's it. But yeah, the hilarious thing is the only reason I have this is because my brother found it in New York when he was over there, and their Pokemon Center has more stuff than the Japanese one, which is weird. But yeah. Anyway,
no, it's fine.
Imagine a poker battle, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna send out my Pidgey, and you're like, deploy the tree.
Yeah, here is an insane tree.
Deploy the psychic dragon tree.
Oh no, sorry. Actually, he is weak to Pidgey, so like this tiny pigeon would be like, harassing your tree because he's grass.
Can you imagine though? They just bring out Pikachu, and you just have a 12-foot tree stamp on it. You just be like, okay.
I'm sorry.
And it fades.
Sorry, I went quiet there. I've just realised that they've unbanned me on Pokemon Go. I'm allowed back in the game again.
Oh god!
Well, that's all visiting Tokyo soon.
I am back.
The terror.
So yes.
Banned by next week.
What about you, Jake? What would you say your favourite is? I know you are an avid collector.
Favorite is this guy Hydreigon, who is a flying dragon with 3 heads. Basically, because he's King Ghidorah from Godzilla in Pokemon form. So, like, how could I not love this guy? And he's a dragon, so he's OP, and you have to like raise him up to level 65 to evolve him, which comes the grinding that I was talking about. But yeah, like you're definitely right, Graham. There's one weirdo for everyone. I mean, I've got a bunch here, like quite partial to Weedle. He's pretty great.
I know Weedle's normally on a mic stand, isn't he?
My second
this guy's called Calyrex, who's a weird rabbit that floats around and has weird wiggly legs.
Yeah. I think that was a way that I really loved Kakuna, because Kakuna is so like it looks so evil, but it was useless. And I remember my challenge for the game when I had it as a child was to get a Kakuna and make it level 100 and make it. But it was you got what did it evolve from? Was it Caterpie?
That was Weedle. It's this guy.
Weedle,
and then a bee.
So you get Weedle, and then basically all it has is like poison sting or something, and then it can learn something else. I think you can give it TMs and stuff, but then once it got to Kakuna, you're like, let's see if I can beat the game with like sort of poison sting. And literally going against the Elite Four, everything killed it in one hit, despite it being level 100 and me putting every strength bonus onto it. Kakuna is just a pile of shit because it's a cocoon basically. Anyway, sorry, Jake.
So what about you, Joe?
No, Jake's still talking. I just
Jake,
interrupted him.
Sorry.
Sorry. Because you were saying like which one do you actually relate to? I think I'm going to go along your lines, Paul. There's a one called Slacking, who's basically a giant gorilla sloth who lies down on his side all the time with his belly out, and a
lot of people
a
lot of people sit him on the gyms and stuff. I remember.
Okay,
when you're doing your gym battles and stuff. So what about you, Joe? What?
Well, favorite Pokemon. So weirdly, I've always had the same answer, but I did a challenge run of Pokemon Leaf Green, and an Executor actually like carried my whole team.
You found the 2 people in the world.
Yes. Executor's not my answer, but I thought I honestly, it carried the whole game for me, and I managed to find the Safari Zone straight. It was a randomizer, so the warps were all different. So my starter wasn't good enough to fight everything, but I found the Safari Zone, which meant you could just catch stuff without having to fight it.
Yeah.
So then because he was high level, I was just like, he just carried the whole game for me. So I was like, I'm glad you said it, because I was like, I should say it, because
no, it's the fact he can learn psychic, and psychic is ludicrous, because psychic, the psychic like breaks the rules, because it goes, oh, this Pokemon's like, you know, strong against psychic like powers, and then it'll still kill them, and you're like, what the fuck is this ability? It's like,
it's broken in Gen 1 as well. It's brilliant. No, my actual favorite Pokemon is Arcanine. Fire Dog. Just it just seems so cuddly, and
Red exclusive as well, wasn't it?
It was, and I had blue, which meant that I could never get my favorite Pokemon.
You were like, get lost of Vulpix, so I want Growlithe.
Which Pokemon do I relate to the most? I don't know. I'm kind of looking at Gengar, and I'm like, yeah, all right.
he's so mischievous.
He's just a little chunky mischief man, isn't he? He's just that's me. Yeah.
We're coming on to like, because interesting what Graham was saying with like the merchandise up in Japan and everything. I think back then, as I said, the big thing that came out was the cards, and that seems to have not gone away. Only got kind of like stronger with like new packs or new
it's
variations.
Come back, yeah.
That gets released now. It's probably the only thing I've seen in B&M that's locked behind a glass cabinet is fucking Pokemon cards because of all the shoppers in B&M. Yeah. But cards is like something that I personally didn't get involved with, because I was more of a Pogs and the Tazos kind of collector. But like when the Pokemon cards originally come out, you didn't think they were going to be anything as special as they are now, because you're talking thousands and hundreds of pounds for certain cards, and like the Chunky Pikachu is one like the most expensive ones.
Oh yeah.
Chunky Chew.
Yeah, it's still Charizard, if I'm honest. It's still that first Charizard that you would have saw back in the day. Because like that, but like some people will say like, oh, you know, like if we only knew Charizard was going to be expensive, like it was still expensive back then.
It was extremely rare.
Because I remember, like, do you remember the swap shop in like Sunderland in town? Like they had one, and he was always flashing it. Like whenever you were in, like, oh, I've got the Charizard. It's 120 pounds or whatever if you want it. Which like back then was like, it probably is about, I don't know how much they go for, maybe like 500 if they're in good condition.
I remember.
It's crazy.
I remember the when the cards, because there was a subset of people that traded Pokemon cards, and ironically, it was chavs, and they were obsessed with the cards. And one of them, Jonathan, he did the pack, he unpacked it and everything like that, and he found the Charizard.
Yeah,
that had to call his mum. So he had to go to reception in school. He had to wait with the card for his mum to come and collect the card, because of the fear that he would get his head kicked in for this Charizard card at school.
Yeah.
Not long after that, Pokemon cards were banned.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have kicked his head in for it. Yeah,
I wouldn't have taken
like
the card. I was just jealous.
It's really weird, because I literally was I when I was tidying the house the other week, I found loads of Pokemon cards, and somewhere I have a whole folder of them. Well, my mum probably threw it out, because basically we had that whole university thing where when I went to university, mum found, I nearly said mother there and gave myself away.
Mother.
No, mother.
Mater,
Not the blinds.
Mater sent all of my
Sailor suit doesn't fit anymore.
destroyed everything I loved, basically. So it's just this idea of, what are these Warhammer figures? Don't need these anymore. What's this? This signed copy of like a Warhammer army book by all of the like 80s
someone's
developers
drawn all
and
over
stuff. That shit, you know. It's like, and literally all of it went in the bin, and she was like, "Oh, I've cleared out some of the old stuff." So,
so on today's therapy session, Graham is on the on the couch unleashing now.
But it's the idea, and it is just this thing. Like I keep sort of saying to my mum, like whenever there's an article on somewhere where it's like, "Hey, this is worth a fortune nowadays," I'm like, "I had 3 of them," you know. But it was the same with Pokemon cards. Wes, I think somewhere I've got like a folder of them. I didn't have the full set, but I know I've got a Charizard. But I found like random ones the other day. So there's a Dark Jolteon, who's from the Team Rocket set. He's not shiny though. We've got Haunter from the Fossils set, who's a shiny.
Yeah.
We have a lot of double energy ones, like about 10 double energy, because of a certain Executor.
You got 2 coin flips for that one.
Yes, like, I'll play it. And they're just like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. And Alakazam, This one here is probably about 40 quid if I wanted to sell that now.
Yeah.
But it's just weird. Like, and then I ordered off the internet. And this was obviously early days of the internet. This is where you couldn't use a computer. You had to phone a shop or something. Like, but I managed to get like first edition executor cards they're like worth like 5 quid or something now.
Yeah.
But it's still the idea, because I was like, it's my favorite card. I need the best version of it, and it never got a foil, I don't think.
It's so weird because Player One Gaming near me in Gisborough, bye guys if you're watching, they've got all the rare cards like locked away in a cabinet near the till, and sadly they got broken into the other week. And I was talking to Gary, and I was like, well, did they take any of the cards? No, they didn't take any of the cards. So I was like, so the most valuable thing in that shop, they jumped over and took petty cash out the till, leaving thousands of pounds of beautifully untouched in the glass, and then just legged it with a couple of £100, realizing there's like thousands of pounds in front of them. And it's just like, it's insane. Like, for me
so what you're trying to say is you're planning the job, you know where to go, and you know how to get in that goodwill.
Oh yeah, of course. But as me, who's like not really up to it, I'm looking at these cards and I'm like, okay, why is this worth this? Why is this worth that? But and then I think, well, the stuff that I collect, I'm like, oh well, this is worth this much because of this. And I just don't understand like why like a shiny Charizard is worth so much.
It's down to like as you said, the collector's mentality type thing. It's like comics, now all the comics are getting harder and harder to get your hands on because people are buying them, or they're getting destroyed or damaged and stuff. And it's the same with like Pokemon cards. It's or any type of like collector's cards type thing. The rarer the one, the more like they're probably only worth a fiver, but the more demand and the more you want people to get, it brings that towards. It's like that need. So it's people who's got like because let's be honest, nerd culture now is probably the most popular culture out there. It's in mainstream and it's on YouTube. Hi YouTube. It's basically everywhere where you get people now who's got money and the pricing things out of the market for day-to-day people like ourselves that we can never own these things. Like people
but I'm absolutely with like I kind of came into Pokemon cards the wrong way around, as in I've only just recently gotten into them properly, like as of like last year or something. Basically Euphoria, who's in our chat sometimes and stuff, she might be there. So hello if you are.
She is.
Hello. She has been into it like since the old days and played the card game and kept up with like some of the stuff. And like that's where my interest comes in. Like I want to like play a game. Like I'm not just going to sit there with a binder full of cards unless they're actually good to play with in some form. But like the collector's market is incredibly fragile for these cards because I'm in a few groups because like I dabble in a little bit of collecting. So like there is certain ones I'd like to buy. But honestly, the way people go on about them, and it's all about grading, like they want them graded and cased in plastic, meaning they could never be played in a game again, which is where my interest just goes straight out the window.
But that was that game, wasn't it? Like the was it Pokemon Yellow for Game Boy that was encased because it had been graded and it was like worth $10,000 or $15,000, and then the US Customs were like, "Oh, that's dodgy." Smash.
Yeah,
and
they look at what was inside the case.
And they'd rip the box up and did everything. And I'm like, that's sort of US Customs for you. They will destroy anything because they are dicks. And it's like that for like, could you imagine like that's £15,000? That could be a lifeline for you. And it's just like we made whole.
But like, I don't know, I just can't respect it. Like, I don't know what it is about like encasing a playing card, a trading card in plastic, where I'm just like, no, like play with it. It's a toy. It's a kid's toy.
It needs to be loved. It needs to be. I mean, it needs to be enjoyed.
It's against the spirit of Pokemon.
That's very much a Paul mentality, as we all know from last year's SunnyCon, where it's just like this minting box, Jar Jar Binks. That's
But you've got to do it though. That's the thing. If you love something, let it breathe. But you see these
Let it die.
Like Butterfree.
you see these YouTubers as well when they do like box breaks and stuff where
Yeah.
they've got old boxes of Pokemon like that's never been opened, and the boxes are worth like tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah,
It's 'cause
10 grand.
because
Like,
they don't know what's in them, and as soon as you
Mm.
open them, they lose all the value because then it just and there's it's basically
aye.
the value is based on hope.
Yeah,
Schrodinger's Pokemon.
it
Yeah.
honestly is Goodwill. Like, because like you can sell old booster packs, but then people have figured out you can weigh them to see if there's like a holographic one inside because it's like micrograms, like
Yeah.
more. But yeah, you're right, Paul. Like there'll be like I watch a guy called Pokerev, who's probably who you're talking about, where he's like, oh, this is a $10,000 box, and I'm going to open it, and I'm going to charge my fans £500 a pack, and I'll send them it. I'll open it on stream, and then I'll send it to them. Like I guess that's how he's bankrolling it. But like honestly, him just making a video showing a card, or like pulling like 3 of these cards can just tank the market overnight because people will watch it and be like, oh shit, this is worth money now. I'm going to whack my prices up on eBay. Or the opposite, where he gets too much of something, like, oh, this is worthless now. Like, poor Pokerev hates it. Now it's worthless. Like, it's just incredibly fragile and volatile. And you'll get like people on groups being like, oh yeah, this is a good investment. You know, like you buy this thing from Smith's the toy shop, and I'm just going to leave it on my shelf for like years, and one day it's going to be worth money. And I'm just thinking like, is it though? Like it could be.
It's very much the same as stocks and shares. It's very
Yeah.
much the same as stocks and shares, where the whole point is you have to know the peak time to get rid of stuff and sell it. Because if you hold on to it after everyone else has sold it, then it's worth nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's the idea of going, oh, if you have a Charizard, yeah. It's that thing. It's like you go, hey, cool, I've got this Charizard now. I'll sell it for £10,000 because tomorrow it could drop to 500.
To be fair, though,
My retirement box.
Yeah.
Retirement fund.
I did have a little win, and like I say, I bought a Funko Pop because, like I say, I am a Funko collector as well. Most of them do come out the box, but I did get a Trixie Funko, and I bought it for £10, and I sold it for 120 quid. So I won there with Trixie Mattel.
There's been times where like I've like bought whatever the new like Pokemon card set is, and just immediately sold everything because like first weekend people get like stupidly nuts and they'll pick like 3 cards and be like, we love this card. Like no matter it could be like technically rubbish in the game and it might not even look that great, but if it's a Charizard or like an Entei or a Lugia, like they'll just pay like anything. I've like flipped things for like maybe 10 and I'm like, this is worth £1. Like there's no way you're gonna pay £10. Okay.
it's a cottage industry because like those Hot Wheels there, people cannot be asked most of the time to do that. So they'll be like, oh well, it's on eBay, I'll just pay 3 times as much for it because I want it.
The thing is, the joy of capitalism is something is worth what someone will pay for it. So it's the fact of if there is some fucking rich kid who's like, oh, I'll pay £10 billion for a Charizard, then that's how much it's worth to someone. And the problem is nowadays you get a load of, especially in Warhammer, you get people where they look at like the eBay listings and they look at the sold prices and they go, oh, this one instance 2 years ago sold for like 100 quid, that must be what I can get for it. And they're like, no, it's just because some crazy bastard wanted it right now and would pay anything.
Yeah, and they jack the price straight.
And then the whole market goes weird. And it's
I'm guessing there is like similar conversations in those groups, but you get people who like cling on to it and try and like perpetuate like the myth of like how much things is worth. I'm sure it happens in like Funko Pops where they'll be like, no, it's worth 50 quid. And it's like, it's because you're sitting on like a case of 7, like or something like you can just see that they're all like scrambling because like this could all fall apart at any moment.
Well, Beth raised a good point in the chat where there is the element of fakery as well with these cards.
Oh yeah, that's a problem with them. It still happens with kids in school like right now because they'll get stuff on holiday or you can buy cards on wish.com. And obviously when you're a kid and you get this pack that's got all of the best cards in, or like you're like, oh, this is amazing, but then they'll go and trade them at school for real cards and then parents get mad.
What was it? There was something like that when I was a kid, and there was like someone who was coming in with like fake stuff and then trading it for real stuff, and I'm like, That's kind of clever in
Was it
retrospect.
the
Like,
Pogs?
you
Yeah.
bastard.
The
Shush,
Pogs for me.
Pogs.
Pogs
Yeah,
were
there were loads of fake Pogs, weren't
Yeah.
there?
Well, I used to get fake cards from like Benidorm and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, which was like an offshoot card game, kind of similar kind of anime
Yeah.
thing. But like there were like stickers, like they were the wrong colors, and like you could peel the front off. Like they were like a holographic sticker. So that must have been the only like stock, like card stock that could get a hold of to print this stuff on. But when you're a kid, it's like a shortcut to like getting stuff that you can actually play with.
So
Well, I think that's the thing. When it's a game random, and it's like Magic the Gathering is a very expensive game to play competitively because it's, hey, you need to pay loads of money to get boosters, and then you need to make the best you can out of what you get in the booster. So as an adult, it's fine with us having loads of disposable cash just to be like, oh, fuck it, I'll buy a whole booster box. We'll find enough in there. Whereas as a kid, you were like, I mean, especially for me, trying to get like 20 fucking executors. And luckily everyone was like, why the fuck would I want that card?
So
And I'm like,
so
let us make a deal, my friend.
So we've noticed never to play Pokemon cards with Graham because we'll end up wanting.
No,
I actually want to
tell
do
you
it.
what.
I
I'll
actually
tell you
want
what.
to
That's
get back to it.
it's
But
got a
all
name.
it will be is a very plain strategy, which is pissing you off.
Graham's strategy has a name. It's called Control. It's like a control deck is a one that's like designed to be the most annoying and like drag the game out or like destroy the other person's resources. But when you've just touched on Magic there, I've just been reminded like Magic are more ridiculous in like their kind of money grabbing tactics. It's Hasbro as well. Everyone loves Hasbro. They own Magic. But recently they're bringing out a Lord of the Rings special set, and they're making one copy of a certain one ring in the entire
world. It's a film about walking. Get over it.
They're trying to do a literal golden ticket on people, but instead of like 6, there's 1. So somebody is going to pull that, and then like Goodwill was saying, there was going to be armed guards like being like,
I hope they pull it and then burn it. And then just like, go there, now there's none.
Throw
it in the volcano.
I love the idea of it, honestly. I think that, if we could pretend that Wizards of the Coast, well, like Hasbro were like innocent and they were just doing it as like, oh, this is a great thing, because it is. That's an amazing idea. It fits with Lord of the Rings perfectly.
Yeah.
But in the realistic world of it, we're gonna have Elon Musk buying every fucking box of these just so he can be like, now I've got this card and no one else will. And you're like,
but you've still got a small penis, Elon.
That's
good.
Still look like
someone
someone
from Twitter now. So well done. But yes. That's annoying for a collector, though, just having one card. I know the premise, but for a collector, that really irritates me.
Oh, it's totally like Graham said. It's funny because if it happens like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and some child who buys one booster pack gets it, amazing. I love it. But it's going to be one of those like YouTube fuckers who's like bought like 1,000 booster cases.
Those YouTube twats.
Yeah, and he's just going to be like, I'm going to live stream until we get it. And he'd be like, oh, I'll just chuck it.
You've still got a small penis, Jake Paul.
I would.
What
I would do though, what I would do, and I don't. If I was doing a set like this, if I was actually sort of Hasbro or whatever, I would deliberately place the card. So what I would do is I would literally be like, oh, I'm going to send it to this game store in Milwaukee or somewhere, like somewhere really obscure in America, and just be like, that's where it's going, like, not New York, and just be fully aware of where we've sent it,
like small town America.
Just something nowhere. Just be like, oh, Glasgow, there you go.
It would be really cool though, because then they could say, like, if there's any fakes, they could officially say,
that's not it.
True.
And then mark the box, or have the box with a particular ID or something, and then be like, hey. Nobody's come up.
Isn't
with
that
this
what the
card
one ring
on the internet yet? Let's go to this store and be like, hello. Do you still have this box?
Watching over it type thing,
that's what I would do. I would make it where it was also the idea of you would track it. You wouldn't just leave it up to, oh, Elon Musk bought every fucking box in, America or something,
Let's be fair to Musk though. That's a Martin Shkreli move, is buying all of something, because he bought that one off. What was it, like a Run DMC album or something?
Wait, no, he bought that, but he also bought the fucking HIV.
The
drug.
antidote.
Yeah, and you're just like going, okay, so I don't say this often, but have you tried dying in a fire?
Yeah,
You know, it's like
He's got a face of many smug people. That was like,
Punchable
good
face,
idea."
yeah.
like I would
Magic
shovel
the
him.
Gathering players.
So coming back to Pokemon,
so,
so Jake, I know you're an avid collector as well. So do you have any like expensive cards that like they can show?
I don't like. That's the problem. I don't, because everything that I want is for like utility purposes for playing in a game.
Yeah, because you actually play. I
Um,
had some nice cards.
Oh,
But
here's a story, but he sounds a bit.
here's a story. I am.
was it your mum? Hold on.
Worst is my sister, and she's not around to defend herself. She convinced me. Like I had a big box. I had a big box of cards. They were all unboxed. I played as well, so like they're not pristine. And I had them in a cupboard, and she kind of went, "Why are you hanging on to those?" And I was like, "I think they're going to be valuable one day." I was like, "I think this is my generation's baseball cards.
Yeah.
I think this is this is going to be worth something someday." And she was like, "Joe, come on." And she was like, "My friend's got a young boy. He loves Pokemon. Can I just give him the box?" And I was like, no. And she hassled me about it. And eventually I went, "Yeah, you're probably right." So I gave them all away. And I know, like Graham, they're not in the attic. They're not in the house somewhere. I know where they went. And I know my sister talked me into it.
And you know what the worst thing is, though?
Fucking
That little boy has sold them and now is a millionaire.
Probably.
But
It's
you
a
raise
difficult thing. Like the big problem I have, okay, just to go back to the therapy session or whatever, is the fact that
my
my
time on the
parents
couch.
are notorious for having no real knowledge of what things are worth. Like, for instance, my mum, throughout all of the really rare signed Warhammer stuff and all of the sort of models that are worth an absolute fortune now and stuff, and all of the, like, probably Pokemon cards, like, I assume they're somewhere in a box, but then again, I can't really tell. But it's the fact of they kept all these first edition books, and you're like, yeah, books are kind of dead, you know. Like, it's one of these things where she's like, "Oh, I've got like a what is it, like a second edition Harry Potter," and you're like,
First edition
So
Harry
does
Potter's
most of
worth
the
like
world,
15
you know?
grand.
It's
Crazy.
that thing. It's still not crazy though. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's that thing of so we've got these big piles of books everywhere, and you're just like, no one cares about a first edition copy of Doctor Sleep or something. Which
Yeah.
I checked, and no, it's not worth anything.
Because you were gonna go kiss the joint.
I was in.
Wait, it's like
is-
Goodwill was saying though. It's the fact of how scary it is that if people broke into our houses, they would pick all of the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Goodwill, you would go to the wall of bankruptcy and be like, "This one ship, there we go. That's my college."
Oh
paper."
yeah, I mean,
Whereas in my
I-
room, we'd be like,
I-
"Hey, here's the Warhammer. Oh, fuck, this is worth a fortune." And
Yeah.
instead, they take my 10-year-old fucking television and be like,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna
well,
buy it."
that's the thing. Like, and Joe raised a really good point about that. I mean, to reference what you said, like they would walk into this room and they'd go, "Oh, they're toys," and go
Yeah.
for the PS5, realizing that what is on the wall is 15 times more valuable
Yeah.
than the PS5. But Joe raised a really good point about what some people, because I always compare Pokemon cards to like those Panini football stickers
Yeah.
and stuff like
man.
that, and it's like, you
You
know, they're
got a
like,
full sticker book. Whoa.
yeah, and they're like, "Oh, but I've got a full sticker book," and it's like, yeah, but these Pokemon cards don't mean like this is like, that is shit. That is toilet paper compared to like this.
Whoa!
Let's not shit on the
football.
Panini sticker.
Get over it. It's football. Get over it.
I was
all
talking
right?
about Roger
I-
Rabbit, Panini.
I would collect.
I had the Simpsons sticker collection.
But it's like our parents, because you said about baseball cards and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, there was baseball cards, and then there was God, what was after baseball cards? It was fucking Pugs or some shit like that, and then it was Pokemon cards, and
I used to have the Simpsons, like Joe said, the Simpsons, not the stickers, the Simpsons cards, where you used to get like the bit of plastic chewing gum with it that used to kill you.
Yeah.
oh God, I had none of that. I was
Oh.
well adjusted.
But the sticker,
Well,
like the
The thing
cards
is,
were
I've
actually
been on the lookout for like Star Trek trading cards for months. Like
Oh,
I
don't.
know there's a Voyager trading card set from the
Inter-
90s.
First
No,
You mean
no.
first
Collectible
intimacy?
plates.
I mean, that's one of them.
So
But like, I need to get Goodwill some
No, you
booster
don't.
packs. It'll be
No.
amazing though.
Get him to open them live and say, "Oh, look at this! It's a
Yeah.
Janeway in a V-cut dress." But yes,
But I refuse to
It's
acknowledge that
Harrison
they're worth any
Janeway
money.
fucking as fish. Yeah.
It's a Janeway salamander.
it's O'Brien. It's Keiko.
It's all
We got a foil Keiko.
There might be. Who knows?
They blatantly didn't make a foil Keiko.
It's a shiny O'Brien. But
Tell you
yeah,
what,
but it's,
I'm gonna get one made just for Graham. Get a shiny sticker. But yes,
We need to. I remember like years ago on like when forums were a thing before Facebook was a thing. We used to like use generators to make Magic the Gathering cards, and it's quite good because obviously Beth in the chat is basically telling everyone, saying what Pokemon types she thinks everyone would be, like with us and stuff. So she said Paul would be ground type leader, Jake's a dragon, Goodwill fairy. Close enough, but no cigar. Joe fighting and me psychic, which
I'm with that. Yeah.
confusion, you know.
I mean, Goodwill's shrugging, but he chose Galarian Ponyta earlier, which is indeed a fairy type. So there
to
you
be
go.
fair though, I don't like being a leader. It's just been thrust upon me. It's not been my choice.
but the thing is, with like the Magic Gathering cards, we basically make our own Magic the Gathering cards of each other with abilities and stuff, and there's something fun about that. So I might do a post about that in Nerdy Up North.
So what we
whatever.
should do then is make our own Nerdy Up North Pokemon cards.
Trading cards.
Trading card sets with all the nerds. What nerd level
Yeah.
would you be?
But no. Can you imagine how passive aggressive we would get with the abilities and stuff like that?
Can you just imagine how insane my card would be? It would
It would be a
literally just
shiny.
be like, I do not want to have this in my deck.
Yours would
Because
be like really meta. Like it would be like if you like get it, you've got to like play rock paper scissors or something.
Yeah, it's-
The entire game ends if you lose.
a goose must be present in order to.
Oh well, no, you would have like the goose cards as your like back like attachments. and
So
stuff.
summons a 1/1 goose with death touch. You know, something like ludicrously powerful, but it can only block or something.
Yeah.
If you get a Gunner card, you instantly win the game.
Yeah.
Well, that was a Yu-Gi-Oh thing. If you had the 5 pieces of Exodia, like the man would come and
How-
destroy everything.
How did that work, by the way? Because like there weren't other combination cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, were they? Was that
Kind
just a
of.
separate mode that you could play? Or-
No, it wasn't as magic as it sounded. It was just if you had the 5 in your hand at the same time. So you had to just play a deck that drew, like deck searched a
Oh.
lot.
I thought it was
Yeah.
like you played one and you put it there, and then when you get another one, you could add it to it. So it was kind of like a
No.
countdown or something. But
There's been stuff, they've messed with stuff like that. But no, Exodia was just like in the first episode of the anime, but it wasn't as cool as it looked.
But coming back to the actual, like not the show, but what we got as well, because we did get quite a number of different movies and different versions
hell
of the movies as
Yeah.
well. But going back to the original Pokemon, the movie that came out, and it was quite a big thing at the time because it was the first time
It's
like
huge.
it was coming out at the cinema. All the nerds
Yeah.
were going there and for the experience.
Who was there? I was there.
I got.
I
Did you get your exclusive Mew card?
I didn't.
I
know.
did, but I didn't care about it at the time. I don't think.
Well, it's worth money now, and mine's been given to a fucking child.
That child's
I'm sensing PTSD.
Oh,
So
Pokemon's
angry.
full of trauma.
So, what did you think of the movie when it first came out?
Well, I think we did the entire like exodus to the Metro Center and everything for the Pokemon movie. I think one of my aunties drew the short straw though and had to take like me and all my cousins. And I remember like she was like going, "What the hell's this?" Like when there was no talking for like like the first like 10 minutes, it was that Pikachu's vacation thing. There was
Yeah.
no human characters. So I think she just fell asleep. But no, like I remember being enthralled at the time because it was like, oh, hang on, like this is a thing I like, and now it's a movie, and
Yeah.
like, and obviously it was full of like insane melodrama, like Mewtwo being like, why
Why am
did
I? Why did
Why
you
was
make
I
me?
born?
Why is it? Why I want to help man? Why is man helping enslaving
And
me?
it was
I will
friggin'
not-
heartbreaking. They did I mean, I'm jumping ahead to you, but they
Yeah,
did an Optimus
spoilers.
Prime on a new generation of children, didn't they?
Yeah. Ash dying. Ash has died a lot if you watch the anime. Like he dies more He probably dies more than Janeway dies in Voyager.
And they made all the Pokemon cry to bring him back to life.
Which is, it's a comment on slavery, I think. It's...
The tears of the oppressed.
But,
that's it.
I recently was at the London MCM Comic Con and actually got to see the cast like reunite for the first time, like of the first movie, and like chat about it and stuff. It's like they've all got like massively positive things to say about like the entire Pokemon experience. Like they were saying like at the time when they were recording it, they knew it was like something special. But they were like, but everyone in Hollywood tells you that they're like, when they're trying to get you for a role, they're like, oh, this is going to be the next big thing. Yeah. It's like they'd heard it before, but I think they kind of knew, especially when it got to like the movie time, that it was like taken off way faster than anyone expected. But yeah, like I was like sat in a room full of people who all had the same experience with me of like crying your eyes out at the screen because like Ash is dead. And Pikachu's crying to bring him back to life.
Bring him back to life. Yeah.
Why did they do that?
And it was Pikachu's last tear that brought him back to life as well.
It is, isn't it?
It's a good thing they never. It's a good thing they never shared that information, because you imagine the general populace find out that tears of Pokemon can heal people. You feel like it's going to turn out like battery farms of tear generated. It's very dark to think about.
I'm not saying it's my ideal job, but if my actual career was basically Pokemon tormentor, where all I do is make Pokemon weep and then collect it in little vials, I mean, I'm getting hard at the thought. It was a
Team
tough
Rocket
wank,
run to the
but I
wrong
managed.
thing.
But it's just like,
everyone had their memory wiped at the end of the movie.
Yeah, they went all Men in Black on them and said,
that was it. That's why they didn't.
Oh well, don't need to worry about
weaponize the
continuity.
Pokemon tears.
But I like how Mewtwo had basically been alive for like possibly a month entirely, because they were like, oh, we've cloned you from Mew, and he's like, why the hell do I exist? Murders them all, but can somehow like erase people's memories without doing any like damage, even though he's kind of only just learned humans exist. And he's like, I think I've got this psychic thing cracked. I'm gonna just delete the last day.
But
I do like the idea of if he failed and just literally just killed everybody.
I think that was his goal.
That might have been it. That's how it ended. They just went into Lost. Although the Pokemon were just in purgatory type thing.
You'll find I know like I'm guessing nobody really kept up with like the future movies, but they're all kind of that kind of.
I remember going to see the second movie, and I thought that was absolutely dope. Like that was just heroin for me. I was like, this is brilliant. And my auntie drew the short straw and took us to that, and I distinctly remember turning to her being like amazed, like in awe enough it, and she was just full on asleep in the
yeah, exactly the same. But like you'll find that with anime movies, like they're often like took out of the story completely, like a side adventure, and at the end everything goes back to the same. And it's like, so like I've never been like that invested in like anime movies, because I always feel like it's just a side story. Nothing they do here will matter to the main story. So it's kind of like a bit of a waste of time, or all your memories are gone.
I think to wrap this up, because I'm feeling like shit, I'm not gonna lie. I know Graham mentioned earlier, I'd say doing a two-parter with someone. So did anyone vouch to say that they were going to do the whole song with Graham?
Oh, wait.
Chick.
Can we? Yeah, because I was gonna sing the bloody Team Rocket song that they have in the Jigglypuff episode, because I loved that one. But me and Jake, we're gonna do the Team Rocket motto.
Yeah,
because I think it's like,
so.
Are you going to be Jethy?
Oh, yeah. I've got the hair.
That's it. I do not. Speaking of trauma.
Prepare for trouble.
And make it double.
Protect the world from devastation.
To unite all peoples within our nation.
To denounce the evils of truth and love.
To extend our reach to the stars above.
Jakey.
Sinwar.
Team Rocket blast off at the speed of light.
Surrender now or prepare to fight.
Who's going to be Meowth? Goodwill. Say Meowth, that's right.
Meow.
hell,
That's right.
Perfect.
That was really good.
And scene.
And see.
I know you're going to get another performance of your Team Rocket song that you give us on your Twitch as well.
It's really weird because like I'm really worried because when it gave me the stream summary at the end, it basically went 5 clips were made from that episode, and I'm like, probably check then. And I know it was all that bit. It's been clipped, but no, it's what is it? It's there's this one episode, and when you just get something that sticks with you when you're a kid, like not trauma and your uncle, but and I've had this song stuck in my head for must be 20 years or something now.
Are you meaning like the Pikachu jukebox thing that they used to do?
The episode where basically it's Jigglypuff's episode, and Jigglypuff's wandering around and she's singing and she's sending everyone to sleep. And then Team Rocket just decide to just ignore their motto and do like a weird rock karaoke version with totally different lyrics, and it was the catchiest thing in the entire fucking world. And then they released like a Pokemon album, like when the
to
movie
be a
came
master
out.
with the number 2 and the letter and the B.
And then they brought out this album, and it wasn't on there because I was literally like, oh, it's going to be a full 3-minute version of this song, and then it's some shit Team Rocket thing. It wasn't. But no, what was it? It's, it's us, Team Rocket, and we fight for what is wrong. We're tired of our motto, so we thought we'd try a song. Jesse, James, the speed of light, prepare to fight. I am the handsome one. I'm the gorgeous one. Looking good is lots of fun. We get some things wrong, but we keep rolling along. And then it has, what is it? It's, we want to capture Pikachu. But this thing where you're like, that has been stuck in my head for about 20 years now, and it's just. And seriously, look for the clip on YouTube. It is one of my favorite bits of thing, and it was a formative moment as a child.
Goodwill looks mesmerized.
I love Goodwill looking at his drink as if like, have I been roofied through Zoom?
I've had far too much martini because I could have swore Graham's just sang. But yeah, go on.
But yeah, like when they ran out of poker rap, they had to do like other songs at the end. So you'd get like Brock singing about how he loves Joy and opposite Jenny, and then he's like a one-woman man, but there's 2 perfect girls for me. It's just like, Brock, settle down. That was actually
just the horniest character.
That was actually like the character who played Brock. Someone was like, if you could give advice to your characters, like what would you say to them? And he was like, oh, for Brock, like just settle down. He's like, you cook, you clean, like you got everything, but you're going a bit too far.
Have a cold shower, man.
Yeah, if I was going to give advice to Brock, I would just say wank.
And on that note,
it out, it'll be fine.
He camps next to his 2 mates. It's not going to be easy.
Well,
he's like, well, Ash sounds a little bit like a girl, so it's.
He is played by a woman.
Yeah. It was that whole thing of the 90s.
What's that noise?
Where they just went like, hey, all young boys should be played by women. And you're like, this is a bit weird.
But it comes from, I don't know if it does like come from Japan, but like every like anime hero in Japan is genuinely like an old woman. Like friggin' Pikachu, like Goku has always been like an old woman. It's like the most manliest character.
Young boys in cartoons and anime and stuff like that. It's because women have got that.
They're my favorites.
I think I know what you mean.
I left the BBC 12 years ago. Not at that. No, it's
joined ITV with Schofield.
Moving on. It's generally because the voices are a higher pitch, so they can.
You don't have to hire a child actor to do a voice.
I mean, look at the voice actor of Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
Cartwright.
It's very much that. It's the fact of if you hire a child, you have them for about a year, and then you're just going like, now you can't do the voice anymore. Well, that
remember the season where Ash's balls dropped?
Yeah. Actually, look at Harry Potter, where they had to redub an entire film because Daniel Radcliffe's chebs just went like that. So it was just like,
and now they're having to do a whole new like series of it just to have a good actor doing it.
Oh,
Shots fired, but he is awful.
yes. But yeah, that has been our
Set my phaser to stunned.
Pokemon tech. So yes, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks, Joe, for being your first and not last time. I'm sure we'll grab you hopefully soon. I know we can't get rid of the other guys, Graham, Goodwill, Jake, literally on everything that's going. There is no monsters this week, so there is no monster.
What?
There's no monsters Monday with
Because
Sammy.
Sammy wants a holiday.
Sammy's on holiday with her mum. Hi, Sammy's
Whoa.
mum.
Unacceptable. Deploy the
Whoa, whoa,
tree.
whoa. Hang on, guys. We get holidays.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you
Oh,
know,
Everyone else
Dressed
does.
like it. This is the closest we get.
I've never had a holiday, but yeah. So yes, so nothing tomorrow night, unfortunately. No Monsters Monday. Are you twitching on Tuesday, Goodwill?
I don't fucking know.
After that much
Yes.
martini, you probably will.
Yeah, yes, I will be twitching on Tuesday,
Cool.
continuing my Uncharted journey.
Uncharted journey. What about you, Jake? Are you twitching during the week, or are you having a week off?
Yeah, I possibly will do Thursday. I'll figure something out. Maybe I will load up that Pokemon save again.
So
I will be twitching after this. So basically, probably about 9:30, I will be on Twitch, and I will be doing a first time playthrough of Diablo 4.
I will be there
if you
to
wanna tune
redeem
in.
the Daddy's got it.
Daddy's got it.
Daddy's got it.
I wish you best on your journey to hell.
Yeah.
So that's it. I'm halfway there as a gay man. But yes, that's the
Arguably the
socials will be
most
forward if you wanna
qualified.
I
tune
just
in
got
for
Bon
that.
Jovi straight away as soon as he said that. I'm halfway there. Whoa!
Living on
Yeah, if you want to
a
join,
gay
it's
man.
Noise on. You can't spell that, so look at the links.
Yes, I'll put the links in. I haven't put the links in yet. But yes, Joe, are you twitching at all?
I find it difficult being homeless and just bumping around on people's sofas for the time being. You can check out my YouTube channel, which is just Joe Border. You also check out my sister's YouTube channel because I do all her video editing. So really, that's
Can we harass her about the cards?
absolutely. Please do.
Next time she's on
Please-
stream, she's gonna. Why are people picking on us because of Pokemon?
She's going to deny it as well. She's going to be like, that didn't happen. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I never.
So
I remember.
yes. So what's happening on Friday? Used to trekkers.
Well, it is the season 2 premiere of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, so we will be on the finger shall be on the pulse of hot takes as me and Graham review episode 1 of season 2, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, where we will try not to melt over Anson Mount's fabulous quaff.
Will you explain
Oh.
how to watch the TV show in the UK as well?
Paramount Plus, where
Yeah,
else would you
Paramount
get yours?
Plus.
or from any illegal streaming software that you can.
Oh no!
I do like though that like sort of with Picard we were basically like it was like a companion show where we're like, oh, has everyone watched the episode? Cool, let's point out some interesting things. With this, most people will not have been able to watch the episode, so we'll be like, no, this is actually we're telling you what happens, for the people who couldn't see it.
How dare you not have another streaming service?
I'm actually going to have to pay for it as well. I'm genuinely going to have to pay for Paramount Plus
I
because
guess you
Yes.
can watch Beavis and
Unacceptable.
Butthead as well now.
You will genuinely have to pay for Paramount Plus. Yeah.
And if you weren't aware, like anyone who's watching this now, that last Friday, Graham
You.
and Goodwill had an actual Hollywood producer on their show, and they had done an interview, which is on YouTube now. So go and watch. It is probably the most professional Nerdy Up North has ever been. So well done, guys.
which is that is a bold statement.
That is very bold.
That's,
yeah.
that's like saying, "Oh, that's the best house fire I've ever seen."
No, hey!
It's definitely
don't-
top 10.
The ship's not called the USS Adequate for nothing, Paul.
I am
so-
not having that. As the production manager of Nerdy Up North, how dare you?
Oh my
yes.
God, he's given himself a role. Oh
Yes.
God.
And we all gave ourselves roles.
yes.
My role's
Did you miss
Daddy.
that meeting? I'm creative director.
Hawaiian gigolo. Is that what? Is that a?
Because Goodwill is
No.
having all the sex of Goodwill's mum's watching. He is having all the sex with all the women.
Yeah.
But yes,
Is
all
my
the-
role just egg?
Egg. My role is here.
So yes. And next Sunday, Graham is returning as well. You are coming back. For,
Am I?
Yeah, indeed. You're gonna have to watch a film you've not probably seen in a while. we're reviewing Labyrinth. Yes, so
yeah.
Sarah Peach will be involved, and I believe Dan's going to be involved because Sarah will be singing the whole movie to us. So it's going to be 3 hours long, just about.
You can get executes and
Yeah, that's it.
Just draw them and you.
yeah. You have to detach them. I don't know if that's
they are deep inside Bowie's bulge.
But yes,
That's
and then
where the
Are you gonna have that as one of the screenshots that goes past?
Bowie's bulge just in someone's face.
It needs to be the bulge, just
bulge.
zoomed in on the bulge, and
Yeah.
that's one of the images that goes.
I might Photoshop Bowie's bulge next to Graham's face, like we had the screaming
I'll just be here being like,
So yes, that is going to be the entertainment factor as well.
tune in for that one.
Yes, and the week after that, we are all at SunnyCon, so we won't have a live episode. I'll try and upload it on the night, determine what time I get back. But we will be performing live in front of a studio audience.
Ooh, performing.
Yes, where we will be talking about our favorite cartoons. So
It's going to be a wild one, though. You don't know if your laptop's going to survive the
Yeah.
craziness.
the craziness. But yes, let's see what happens on the day. But yes, so guys, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for tuning in the chat. Thank you, any first-time listeners. Hope you like, share, and do whatever you must. But yes, same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone.
Thanks, Jake. Bye.
Have fun. Bye.